Welcome back to The Making of Her, the podcast where we explore the real stories behind powerful women in medicine, dentistry, entrepreneurship, the pivots, the pressures, the purpose, and the meaning. Today, I am joined by Dr. Sirisha Bhandaru. She is a dentist, a leader, and a woman who embodies what it means to evolve beyond the traditional definitions of what success looks like and means like in healthcare. In this conversation, we are going to go beyond the titles and the achievements and into identity, growth, and what it truly takes for us to create a life and a career that feels aligned, expansive, and deeply fulfilling. If you have ever found yourself questioning about the path that you are on, or if you're feeling the pull towards something more, this episode is for you. Let's dive right in. Hi, Sirisha. How are you? I'm so happy you're able to make it to record this with me today.
Thank you so much. I love your podcast. I love it so much.
Thank you. We're going to dive right in. I have a ton of questions to ask. How has your identity evolved today from doctor to who you are?
Oh God, you got into it right away. I was going to have a little time before we got into the hard questions. It was pretty long journey. You know, like all of us, especially in healthcare, like any profession, but more so in healthcare, we put decades into earning that title, 10, 15, 20 years. And then we put out our practices and we are trying to identify with the practice. And oh God, I'm having goosebumps. I know you know, but a lot of my friends and whoever is listening doesn't know that my dad is a pediatrician. So his main identity was being a pediatrician. So that's what I took on. And initially when I started, however, it was the number of patients I saw in a day. The more number of patients, the better it was. And that didn't work anymore. It was not running from op to op. It was not going from patient to patient. It was focusing on the patient. That is when the pivot happened. And then that translated into my personal life, that I don't identify with one title anymore. Yeah, it was a long journey and it's still evolving. It's still in the making. We're not there yet.
Which is why it's the making of her.
There you go.
I love it. I love it. And you know what I'm finding is the more women I speak with, this is a very common theme where we are realizing we're more than I'm a mom or I'm a dentist or I am, insert what it is that you do. So I feel this resonates a lot with, and I'm sure it'll resonate with people listening into. Take us back, actually. You're still a practicing dentist. What drew you to dentistry? Like, what was it that made you decide, I want to be a dentist? And how did that version of you define success? I know you briefly said the number of patients you saw, right? So take us back into that. Take us blast into the past.
Okay, so very early on, even when I was like 9 years, 10 years old, I knew I was going to be a doctor. There was no question about that. But the older I got, my dad also had I keep referring to my dad all the time. My dad had a very evolving career. He was a physician. And then when he had young kids, he went on to do pediatrics and now he practices geriatrics. I saw that evolution happen in him, but I was too young to pick up on that. But I was like, I want to be a doctor, but I don't want to work late nights. I don't want to take emergencies. I want to help people walk out of my practice feeling good that day. There is nothing long term. That was my thought process, but oh boy, was I wrong.
I think, as providers, we become so attached to our patients, which is a good thing, but also to being able to help them. And sometimes those boundaries get blurred, right? We forget where the line has to be because then we tend to ignore ourselves. The self-care takes a backseat a lot of times, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about the
Okay. So the self-care part came for me like very, very late. Maybe like 2 years ago, and I'm no spring chicken. So it was easier.
And you've been a practicing dentist
since 2000.
There we go. So 26 years.
26 years, 2 years ago. And I can also tell you the moment it happened. We talk about once I transitioned my practice into the whole body, not like point and fix and comprehensive dentistry. Once I changed my practice into that aspect, I was talking to a patient, and it was a woman patient, and I was telling her what she needed to do. And I was exactly telling her, you took care of your husband, you took care of your children. When is it your turn? Why are you putting it away? And that was it when it occurred to me. I go back, I had not had breakfast, I had not had lunch, I had not worked out for a couple months at that time. And I was the heaviest I'd ever been, like a lot of inflammatory health situations going on. And I go to my office, I look in the mirror, and I'm like, what's going on with me? I'm telling it, but I'm not practicing.
You were not walking the talk.
Oh God, no, I wasn't. It's still hard. It's not easy to say, and to say the least. It is still work in progress. But like I mentioned earlier, I have stopped identifying with the title of a mom or a daughter or a dentist or a boss or a practice owner or entrepreneur. It's all of it together. It's me first, and all the titles come after that.
You know what? I have two questions I want to ask you right away, but I'm going to be patient because I know you have so much value to drop. Let's take with this. When you said you were speaking to that female patient and you had the aha moment that, oh my gosh, I'm not walking the talk. What did you have to unlearn to become the version of yourself that said, okay, self-care is I have to go to the gym, or I have to go for a walk or meditate, or whatever that looks like for you? What did you unlearn?
What? Oh my God, so much. I know, I'm like thinking because these are hard questions, man. A lot of it. As women are wired, especially after we become mothers, and especially us in healthcare, we are wired to be the giver. We are wired to take care. We are wired to be present, to be able to provide. And we don't stop and say, hey, I got to take care of myself. So that is hard. That is not easy by any which means, but we're getting there.
We are. No, I agree with you. I also think as women, like you said, we are wired to be caregivers, and it almost feels selfish to put yourself first. Especially, South Asian families, when you've grown up in the culture. She's rolling her eyes for those that are listening in to the audio podcast. A lot of it can be cultural conditioning too that we carry with us. You've grown up in India the way I have too. The self-talk that we give ourselves when we say like, you're a bad mom or a bad wife or a bad daughter if you don't take care of everybody else first and you actually do things, right? Do you agree?
Oh God, remember, I think we were having this conversation, was it last week? I'm like, I can't just sit and I can't let people take care of me because I have to be taking care of others. And you're like, why? And I'm like, I honestly don't have an answer for that.
It's very hard to accept help too sometimes.
A lot of times.
And it's not because another person isn't capable of helping us. And, even in my family, like if I am doing something in the kitchen, like for example, I was putting together a little desk for my daughter, and my husband came in and he's like, oh, let me help. I was like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I can do this. And he's like, I know you're strong and I know you're independent, but it's okay for me to help you. And I had to stop myself and go like, you know what? Yeah, come and help me. Come do this. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. I agree with you 100% there.
Let me add one more thing. I think we are at a rock and a hard place right now as women in general, because for so many years, we didn't have the opportunity to do anything except be a caregiver. Right? You take care of your family, you take care. And that's wired in our DNA. Call it a conditioning or cultural, whatever it is. Now you want to go prove to everyone that, hey, I don't need to be independent. I don't need to be dependent. I got it. So I think it's become the toxic cycle for a lot of us, especially me. I'm like, I got this. I don't need help. I can do everything. But there's only so many hours and there's only one of you.
Yeah, 100%. This is a conversation we've had many times, but also I find having with women, I think this week it's been 4 or 5 women. Being a woman in healthcare is lonely. The loneliness that we experience is It's an epidemic, man. I have yet, like in the conversations that I've yet had, like everybody has this spark in their eye, or I can almost hear the relief in their voice when they say, yes, nobody understands. We are all part of like all these Facebook groups, and we have 5,000 friends on Facebook and 15,000 followers on Instagram and connections on LinkedIn. And yet, as a society, we have never been more lonely.
Oh, totally agree. Totally. I think it also comes back to the same thing like we talked about a minute ago. It is, I want to be strong, independent. I don't want to be dependent. That translates to a lot of us as not asking for help or not seeking advice. I got to figure it out because I put 25 years or 30 years of my life into this.
I have something to prove.
I got to prove, but then yet I have to take care of everyone because that is my actual job. So I think that's where that was my aha when I was talking to that patient. And I'm like, I'm just preaching and preaching and preaching. I got to at some point start
doing.
Yes. Yes.
Have you experienced any guilt when you decided you wanted to do something or someone different? Like we're stepping outside of the box, right? Was there any guilt when you decided to do that? When you decided to put yourself first?
Yes, on so many levels. I don't know where to start. I don't know if you want me to start with my career or personal life or where I am today.
This is your stage today.
But I started my practice when my older one was 2 years old.
And
right now, he's going to be 15.
So you've had your practice for 13 years?
13 years. Yes, 13 years, this practice. And I would feel guilty for leaving him at home and taking care of my patients that I worked at that point for 30 years to establish myself as a practicing dentist who's capable of taking care of it. 3 decades of my life I put into it. And I was feeling guilty for leaving my child. That was one level of guilt. And the second level of guilt, oh God, is when I decided to have a second child. This was 3 years into my practice ownership. Now I had a child I was already neglecting in my brain. He was not neglected. He was loved, taken care of. He was like thriving. Okay. And when I had the second child, I was like, I'm neglecting my child number 1. I am a selfish mom for wanting a child number 2. I'm a selfish woman for ignoring these 2 children and wanting to have a career. And when I was at work, I am so selfish and ungrateful for wanting to be at home when all these people trust me, found me on the Google.
Far from the truth. You and I both now know this.
So that is one end of the guilt spectrum. Okay. Now the second end of guilt spectrum. It was, like I said, 2 years ago when I was like, you know what, something is going to shift, and I started working out. So changed my office hours. So now when I go home, I go work out or read or do some self-care act. Now there is 2 guilts coming. I have a business that I should be working on at home, and I have children I should be taking care of, but I'm not doing either. I'm taking care of me. Do I deserve it?
I will tell you right now, 100% you do.
No, but you know how the thought process goes, right? This is a super candid conversation.
Which is what we are here to have today.
Yes.
I say enough of putting all this under the rug, sweeping it under the rug, acting like everything is fine. We can have both. We could be a mom and a business owner. We could be a CEO and a homemaker and be perfectly imperfect. And that's totally fine.
Yes. It took me a long, long, long time to get here.
What does a full life look like for you today? What does that definition of success look like for you?
The full life for me is to be present. Be present today where you are at
there
this.
We go.
5 years ago, if you had said we're going to sit and record a podcast after hours, after the office is closed, I'd be like, we are not doing that because I got to go home. I have to run home and do A, B, C, D, E. And that's what the biggest shift is, for being fully present every moment. Be it the patient, be it the family, be it the children, or our recording here, or chats that we have weekly, whatever be it. Give it all. Everything else can wait.
And I think what we forget to see is our children get to witness this.
Bingo.
I have always said this, I have 2 girls, you have 2 boys. my girls are going to get to see mom run a practice, maybe cook, maybe not. Who knows? My definition, what defines me as a mom isn't based on whether I cook or not, right? My kids are still going to be fed. As a podcaster, as an author, as a speaker, whatever it is that they're seeing me as. And your boys are going to go through life knowing that women can run a practice, be a good mom, be on podcasts. You have your own podcast, be a podcaster. You're in the process of writing your book, be an author, whatever that may be. And I think what a wonderful legacy we are leaving our children, right?
When you bring that, it was, I think, last week. My younger one's going to be 10 soon. And I was doing something and he comes to me, he holds my face with both his little hands like that. And he's like, you need to stop being needy, mom, and do something for yourself.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, you don't have to come hug me all the time.
Tell him it's not for you, it's for me.
I'm like, it was like very like moment for me to reflect on for like a very long time, because he was actually setting me free. He's like, you don't have to be present with me, be present with you. Does it make sense? I'm like, oh my God, he has more wisdom than I do.
He absolutely, we should have had him on the podcast instead of you and I. Wow, what a bright kid. What a bright kid. I briefly want to touch into what it is that you do and how you serve your patients, because I think it's so important. I know a big part of your practice focuses on sleep apnea treatments, on holistic, as in like treating the patient as a whole and not just single tooth or just tooth-based dentistry. Can we touch briefly upon that?
Yes. The shift, like you mentioned, it happened. It was a gradual shift in the practice too. It was evolving as life was changing on. Sleep apnea has been a very, very big aspect of my life. And then that trickled into the practice. And as years passed on, I've been doing this for about a decade, if not a little bit longer than that in the practice, is the textbook definition and the definition of patients, or the description of patients, was not matching for me. So we started to look deeper, that it is just not you have a 4 checklist question and you check yes, check no, check yes, check no. You're screened and you go. There is more deeper processes that happen in the body that are signaling and giving you red flags that you have to look for, be it children, be it women, be it men, especially women and children who are so overlooked and underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed.
And over-medicated at times. It's easier to throw a pill.
Exactly. So all this is what we do. We screen women. 90% of my patients that I treat in my practice for sleep apnea are women and children. They seek us out from a friend, a neighbor's daughter, a church friend's father. It's usually word of mouth, and I am very grateful and very thankful for every single one of those that I get to.
Well, you know what? I'm grateful and thankful for you to be able to bring this to your patients, because we need more awareness. We need more providers that are connecting the dots, because a lot of treating women and children involves asking questions and looking deeper instead of, like you said, oh, did they check a box or not? So I am so grateful that you're doing this. As we wind up the episode, I want to ask you one last question. How do you want to be remembered, not just as a doctor, but as a woman? What do you want your legacy to be?
I want to be known as a person who was not afraid to create a culture of care. I don't mind failing, but I want to try creating care and compassion to everybody who walks through the doors. When I say the doors, not my practice, my home, and my life, wherever they're coming, I want it to be an area of care and compassion. So
you know what? Failing means you tried. That's what I tell my girls. If you've never failed, it means you've never attempted something. We've all failed. So I am.
Yes, of course.
Yes, I am so grateful you are doing this. Where can our listeners find you? For those listening in, we will have Sirisha's social media handles in the show notes, but where can they connect with you?
We have a website. It is Carrollton. We are actually located in Carrollton, Texas. It is a suburb of Dallas. And my practice is called Carrollton Smiles, and the website is Carrollton Smiles for patients who are trying to look us up for a general dental care, and for patients who are people, providers, whoever, who are looking up for the sleep aspect of the practice. We have a separate website for them. It is DFW Sleep Dentist.
Perfect. So that we will have all this in show notes. And then, of course, you're on Instagram. Your practice is on Instagram as well, correct?
We just got TikTok too.
Oh, look at that. I will have to follow y'all. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure to sit and yap with you, as my teenagers say.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you. Those listening in, if you know somebody in the Dallas-Fort Worth area who could benefit from an amazing dentist, you know where to look. Share this episode. Leave us a review. I will see you guys next time.